Hank Graham coming at you once again on Body User's Guide this week, and also check out the other channel for the latest news on health and fitness. That is Dr. Dan the Man, and Body User's Guide is where we go over the latest tips and tricks for fitness and health. And we're going to continue a talk that we started last week about auto accidents, and this is going to be fascinating stuff because in an instant your life can change, and I'll explain a little bit of how that changed my life and what it means to you, because all of a sudden in an instant you're going to have to deal with possibly insurances, attorneys, maybe people that don't have insurance, maybe they don't have anything, and you know, it's sometimes it can be a real mess. But anyway, Dr. Dan is going to give you the straight facts so you can kind of be aware, be ready for if it happens to you. So like and subscribe, share this with your friends and family. We're going to be talking about some, you know, how auto accidents can cause arthritis within as little as 3 years, and kind of what you need to do about it, what you need to know about it. But anyway, tune in every single week. Dr. Dan is going to be coming on your microwave system, your satellite system. I'm going to be on your TV system, on your computer system. Now, if you don't know who Dr. Dan is, then you'll better check my resume. It is on downtowngilberthealthcare.com, and that is where I'm at, Downtown Gilbert Healthcare here in downtown Gilbert. And I apologize for getting a little this video late out this week. We've been gangbusters here at the office. We're running days where we have literally no spots for patients. I'm even seeing patients on Sundays, and it's just going gangbusters out here. So I want to thank God. I want to thank my patients for supporting me and trusting me with your health and being your chiropractor. So anyway, let's jump right into it. So how do you get hurt? Now, these are the days, you know, that we aren't talking about where you get launched through a windshield or ejected from a car. We're going to talk about just mostly the low impact crashes and what you need to know about that. The insurance adjusters are trained, and I have plenty of insurance adjusters that are patients, but they'll say, look, you know, we're trained. If there's not $1,000 worth of damage to your car, how can you actually get hit with any sort of damage? How can you have whiplash? How can you have? And there are attorneys that work for insurance companies that have never had whiplash. I've been in depositions with them, and you know, when all the smoke and fire is done, and you're talking to them afterwards, I've had them confess to me. They're like, yeah, we've never had it, so you know, we don't know what people are going through, but they don't believe it, and you know, that kind of disqualifies them right off the bat in my mind. But hey, they still got the job, and we got to deal with them. So anyway, bottom line is this: is that when you have, say you get rear-ended in a, you know, you're in your car, you get rear-ended, and for lack of a better type of wording, we're going to use a target car is basically your car, and the bullet car is the car that hits you. And I base this off of, you know, my knowledge of treating patients who have been in auto accidents for years and years and years here in my office, and doing lots of depositions and arbitrations, and you know, being covering files for attorneys where they're trying to look for, you know, all the little holes and the weaknesses in the files. I've done that for years and years and years. I have an advanced certification with the San Diego Spine and Research Institute. I take referrals directly from emergency rooms here in the Chandler and Gilbert area with friends and patients that I've done radio shows for years with. So anyway, I'm going to try and imbibe that knowledge into you and let you know kind of what's going on. So anyway, when you are sitting at a light, minding your own business, that's the time that you're probably texting and looking down and that sort of thing. And all of a sudden, some jerk comes in and he's texting while he's driving, and you know, just rams into you. So these issues can come up in the fact that, you know, no one's going to necessarily argue if you've been hurt when you get clobbered at 65 miles an hour, it's like saying a freeway. But a lot of times we get these low impact crashes where you're at 5 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour, and you get hit, and you actually get out, you feel quite a jar, and I'm going to explain that here in a second, but you get out, there's really no damage to your car, maybe a scratch on your bumper, a little crack on the bumper covering. But how do we know that you've actually been damaged, other than saying, gosh, my neck hurts? Because as a doctor that actually treats patients in auto accidents, we actually have to prove to the insurance company and to the attorneys that you are actually hurt as much as you say you are. And so there's, you know, the medical type of diagnosis, but there's also a legal ramifications that we get into if we don't do the correct diagnosis, if we don't detect certain things, both for and against you. And we have to look at everything. But you know, with the end in mind, I always look at an auto accident patient that, hey, I'm going to eventually have to explain this to someone, why I came to my conclusions and how I can say that they actually got hurt when they only got hit at, say, 10 miles an hour. So one, the bumpers are made to, give, where they're called 5-10 mile an hour bumpers, and they're made to not show a lot of damage. But what a lot of people don't realize is that cars are traveling faster these days, and so cars protect individuals and passengers better by invoking crumple zones. And what that means is that when you get hit on the freeway, you don't get launched like a cue ball. You actually have this, like all the cars kind of crumple together, and it slows the acceleration out, and that acceleration is actually what causes the damage. So when you're hit in a low impact crash, unfortunately those crumple zones are not invoked, and so actually you get launched like a cue ball. It's instantaneous. How much damage will occur? Well, it's substantial, and doing the research with the San Diego Spine Research Institute, we know that we would have, and this is probably the best one, but 7 mile an hour hit, and this was actually done on an insurance adjuster who thought this was a bunch of baloney that we were doing. But anyway, she volunteered to strap herself in and have the accelerometers, hooked up to her. We had the slow motion cameras, and the guy hit her at about 7 miles an hour, just a little bit over 7.5. And we recorded 13.5 G's into her body in a third of a second. Now, is that a lot? Well, it sounds like a lot, but is that really a lot? Well, take this into an account. If you're a jet fighter and you go into a negative G dive and you got the pressure suit on to keep you from passing out, you will hit about 9 or 10 G's, and that's about all the body can handle before it actually passes out. So what we're seeing in these low impact crashes is you are having upwards of more G's than you would see in a sustained jet dive in your body in a third of a second, and it's that instantaneous acceleration that whips your head back and whips your head forward on the ride down, and causes that whiplash type of injury where you can have ligaments that get stretched out, torn, tendons that are stretched, a lot of different issues. And so there's a way that we detect that. You can't see some of these ligaments actually on the MRI. You have to look for their function. We're going to go over that in another segment in another week. But the bottom line is this, is that if you get hit in an accident, low impact, you can have substantial damage. Low backs, I would always kind of wonder before I took the class, like, gosh, how can you actually herniate a disc when the back is real supported in the chair? But what we have in the low back that occurs in the mid back is you get a shearing effect where the spine has this normal type of anatomical position, and then once you hit 10, 12, 13 G's into it, that whole spine is just shearing back and forth and can actually tear some of the discs. And just how bad, I will tell you this, that in my experience, I got T-boned by a person coming out of a parking lot, okay? And she hit me in my Jeep that my son and I were restoring, spun me around through traffic. I was holding on for dear life, and I just noticed that, I wasn't getting better. And by the time that I said, okay, it's time to get an MRI, see really what's going on, because I'm just not feeling like I would normally expect after a week or two. I made it out with 3 disc herniations in the neck, 2 disc herniations in the low back. I tore the supraspinatus of my left rotator cuff totally off, and 60% of my subscapularis. So I got damaged, and I bet you she was probably going about 15 miles an hour, maybe 20, but it was devastating. And me being a chiropractor, I use my hands, my arms, my shoulders. I'm bent over patients all day long, and that was very, very hard. I didn't hold no grudges. I mean, accidents are accidents, but your life can be changed, and I've seen people that, it can be just devastating. But so that's how we actually get hit. That's how we get damaged. You want to go to a doctor that can actually detect these sort of things, and also tell you how to get better and give you the right exercise and that sort of thing in order to correct some of the damage that has occurred, and also educate you in realizing that you will never be the same once you've been in some of these auto accidents. You deal with scar tissue, which is not as strong, not as elastic, can carry more pain fibers around it. So sometimes you set yourself up for some chronic issues, not to mention some arthritis if you do have certain criteria that is found during the examination. And we're going to go through a little bit, your age, the health that you're in, the health status, whether you're looking up or down or left or right, did you brace? All of these things come into play when you are going before an insurance company or to settle out this case. So we're going to get into it a little bit more as time permits. Check me next week. Thank you for tuning in. Like and subscribe. Share this with your friends, your family, and don't forget where to find me at Downtown Gilbert Healthcare. And if you do not know who Dr. Dan is, then check my resume. It's quite extensive there on downtowngilberthealthcare.com. So take it from a know-it-all who tries to know it all, Dr. Dan Graham, and we will see you next week.